Hi students, Dal here. So this is the first of your instructional videos on how to get started with welding. It's important that you watch this before you come to class so you know what you need to do. We're going to start out with a video on how to cut metal for the first shape that you will make in class, which is a pyramid. So in order to do this, you're going to need to gather a couple of tools, and then I'll take you outside where we store our metal and show you how to cut it. The first thing that you're going to need is a Sharpie marker. You need to provide this for yourself because we don't want you chewing on Sharpie markers and getting all diseased, so make sure you bring one of these to class. It's a good idea to have a pair of safety glasses, your long sleeve shirt, which you will always wear in the studio, long sleeve pants, and shoes that do not have open toes. This is all for your safety. What we're going to be doing in here makes sparks, and so you do not want to have sparks in your body parts. You will also, for what we're doing, need to get yourself a pair of bolt cutters. They're stored on this shelf. As you come in the main door to the studio, you turn right. You'll see these tools on the shelf. You can pick any one of these bolt cutters, but it's a good idea to kind of lift it up and make sure the jaws come together. Some of these have been pretty beaten up, so they don't always work fabulously. So a pair of bolt cutters. You will also need a tape measure, and they're stored on this shelf right here. Optional are your welding gloves. Sometimes people don't like to hold and cut the metal with their bare hands because it gets you dirty, so you can bring these out as well. Okay, I'll meet you outside for the next segment of this. The next step in making your first structure, which is a pyramid, is to get metal. The metal is stored out here in the sculpture yard, and to get here you come out the back door of the studio and turn left, and you'll see these racks right here with a bunch of metal. Your metal is stored second one up right here, and it is this 1/4-inch steel rod that looks like this. Some of it might have rust on it. Don't worry about that. It doesn't really matter for what we're doing. Oftentimes, if you scout around on the ground, you will find little bits and pieces, and I would encourage you, if you have some of these that are long enough for you to use, that you take advantage of them. We try to be as environmentally friendly in here as we can be, and part of that is having as little waste as possible. So I'm going to go ahead and use this piece and some of these little pieces that I see stacked around, rather than wasting a whole big long piece. If you do use a long piece, make sure you're cutting from the edge and that you're using it as efficiently as possible, again, so that we're saving material. All right, for your pyramid form, you are going to need 6 lengths of metal. And these lengths of metal can be anywhere from 8 inches all the way up to 20 inches. This is where your aesthetic decision making comes in, so you get to decide what kind of pyramid you want to make, whether it's equilateral or it's long and skinny or it's short and fat. That's totally up to you. I'm going to make a long skinny one today, I think. So I'm going to cut 3 lengths of steel rod that are about 10 inches length, and then I'm going to cut 3 that are about, say, 18 inches in length, so I get something that's long and skinny. Again, up to you. If you want it equilateral, cut them all the same length. There are actually a couple of ways to measure out metal and get them to be the length you want it to, and I'm going to show you 2 ways. So the first way to do it is to take your tape measure that you brought out here. If you want to zoom in, now's a good time. Take these gloves off for a second. Like I said, the gloves can be super handy if you don't want to get your hands dirty, but I find they also get in the way of your manual dexterity. So I'm going to put my tape measure here at the end of the metal rod, get my Sharpie, measure out to the length I want. I said 10 inches, and I'm just going to make a line here at 10 inches. If you want, then you can just continue out from that mark. So we're at 10 inches. Get this hooked back on here. Then I can do one at 20 inches and another one at 30 inches to get my 3 10-inch lengths. And I can cut them all at once. To cut the metal, I'll find my mark again first. You're going to take your bolt cutters and you're going to use levering to your advantage here. Less effort is better. So I want you to put one tip of the bolt cutters on the ground like this, and you're going to slide the metal in so that the mark that you made with the Sharpie is between the jaws at the back of the jaws. Don't put it way up here in the front because you're going to have to use a lot more force to get it cut. Slide it all the way to the back. And then you can just push down on the bolt cutters, levering off the ground, and cut that piece of metal. Since I made all 3 marks at the same time, I can do them all at the same time, although this is a really rusty piece of metal and it's actually kind of hard to see where my mark is. I need to give myself a little help to see where I made that mark. There it is. Brian Painter, the other sculpture teacher, really likes this method because he can make all the marks at once and he can go pretty fast. I actually prefer the second method I'm going to show you. So anyway, here are my first 3 pieces that are going to make the base of my pyramid. Now I'm going to make 3 lengths that are 18 inches, and I'll show you the other method to measure. To do this, I'll start out the same way, pull out my tape measure. You can lock it with this button here. Line it up on the end, find your 18-inch mark, mark it with your Sharpie, but then instead of continuing down and marking your other ones, you're going to use your bolt cutters the same way. Tip on the ground, into the back of the jaws, push down, and then I'm going to use this piece to measure off my other sections. So here's another nice length of metal. Line the 2 up next to each other. Mark it off. I just find this easier for me personally because I don't have to worry about finding the mark again. And for me anyway, it's a little bit more accurate. And if you're sort of obsessive like I am and you want things to be as perfect as possible, this is a good way to get it a little bit neater and cleaner. Okay? If you have extra metal when you're all done, anything that's over about 12 inches in length, you can stack neatly underneath our metal rack for the next person to use. Anything that's under 12 inches, we're going to take in and throw in the garbage can. When you go back inside, please make sure you bring your tools. Certainly your Sharpie, because that's yours and you want to hold on to it, but the tape measure and the bolt cutters need to go back where they came from.